I'm going to talk you through today about reimagining manufacturing, improving workflows, boosting productivity, energizing growth, and all within the ServiceNow platform. In the current context of the digital transformation that we are seeing, the margins and operations could be at risk, and running the operations of manufacturing is changing rapidly. New business models are evolving as the pressure on each and every aspect the manufacturing life cycle touches is changing. There's a statistics that says 76% of manufacturers have introduced or planning to introduce new aftermarket services. This is about changing the way the aftermarket business functions itself. The ability to reach the last mile. There are many different statistics around it, from IIoT to smart factories to the industry 4.2 and the emerging concepts around 5.2. A lot of changes impacting how we were working in the past and how we should be transforming ourselves for the future. Man thought that he would work alone, and there in spite of the era changes in the era, we were focusing on productivity changes, and automation brought in an additional advantage to that. Robotization of industry made robots work what man and person used to do. This is about an era where the person and the machine work together in tandem, in parallel, so for a common objective and outcome. A small disruption in an automated factory, a robot going down, could impact a production output in many different dimensions. These disruptions can come from cyber threats. There are statistics that the second topmost targeted industry by cyber attacks is manufacturing industry. In this cyber attacks, you can differentiate in terms of the IT and the OT side of the businesses that are getting disrupted. On the IT side, you would see that there are businesses that run the end customer experience also. So that is very critical for it. On the OT side, the factories are today run by robots. And if that is attacked, there is a whole impact on the productivity itself. Data silos play a very important role because everywhere across the manufacturing life cycle, there are touch points where generate data, right from planning to R&D, to production, to quality, to customer service and reliability. There is data and data and data everywhere. Industry 4.2 brings the ability to collect this data in many different ways possible. How do you correlate these data and make a meaningful actions out of them remains to be a challenge because of the silos that exist in different systems. The workforce and skill challenges continue to remain a challenge because there is a statistic that says that 2.1 million positions will remain vacant by 2030. There is an aging population and there is an emerging generation that is used to mobile devices in their works, in their personal spaces. How do we provide these workspaces and this work culture to the new generation and also embed the knowledge that the past is left behind to those new generations? And that remains to be a challenge because the action has to be happening much more faster. The problem and the skill needs to be mapped much more realistically. At last but not the least, the customer service needs to be done in a more faster and a personal manner. Last but not the least, the supply chain is a critical chain that connects between the starting point to the last mile. Supply chain disruptions have gone through major changes during this last two pandemic, where people could not find truck drivers, could not find trucks, could not transport from a shipment area to a factory and factory to the distributor. This statistic says that 3 to 5% DBDD risk and short supply disruptions of 30 days fewer. The challenges remain. The challenges remain to convert those data points from contact to contactless as the process moves from one direction to another. As you see here, the digital investments accelerates. Many manufacturers are still struggling with manual processes, disparate systems, and disconnected people. At the end of the day, inability to drive actions from dashboards. What would you do if these dashboards are happening in a very siloed manner, not connecting the overall story itself? And that's where ServiceNow is a platform that makes workflow with a unified platform of action. A truly connected manufacturers start here. From customers, response systems to production and operations, seamless supplier integrated way of management, happy employees serving the customers and internal stakeholders, and a shared services that brings in the collective investment that the company makes. These all happens through digitizing the knowledge and process as the new generation of people come and join. The ability to reflect on the old process and knowledge that has happened and bringing the orchestration in the same system of a zero touch, whether it is onboarding or offboarding or switchboarding, a zero touch, whether it is in master data management of including a partner or changing the specifications of a partner on terms, dates, orchestrating on a zero touch and connecting people across value chain is all that matters. If you look at this as a single system of action of manufacturing workflows, I want you to pay attention to the systems of record. Systems of records address to different departments within the organization, from IT to customer service to OT systems to asset management to quality engineering and ERP and plant maintenance and supply chain. Different systems of record are needed to run this operation. ServiceNow as a platform comes to bring an integrated framework into each of these systems of record, pull in the data needed for running a specific workflow that makes the work happen in that particular dimension. An IT workflow, for example, would talk about how do I predict IT losses or outages that happen that would impact my business and the nature of the impact, and finding out the source of such information coming from, pinpointing where exactly this problem is occurring. An employee workflow would help connect the 20 plus systems from planning to approval process of jobs to managing the training, the core HR systems of badge availability and admin related activities to background checks and many different dimensions that goes to alumni management. Employee workflows is an important attribute for managing happy employees and their experiences. Customer workflow is a workflow that translates the dimension of managing customer experience, of expressing, identifying their needs, solving their problems, going to the last mile in the field, whether offline or online, on a mobile based, where exactly that particular requirement is coming from, the issue is happening, going with the right parts and solving that problem at the field level. Last but not the least, the app engine is the creative workflow. What may I design by a piece of paper may be converted into a workflow in tomorrow's world. And that's what it provides. While providing all of these experiences, how is chat and virtual agents play a very important role in this conversation in a more intelligent manner and bringing mobility in the space that does not differentiate between our personal life and work life. That's the overall picture, a big picture of the power of ServiceNow as a platform. Let me deep dive into some of these areas of workflows that are relevant to the manufacturing space. In the customer workflow, the objective here is about growing revenue, improving margins, and decreasing cost to serve. The optimization opportunity is around order to cash optimization, after sales service support, and reseller channel support. These are all, to say, in a disconnected system. Bringing them into one channel of support, bringing a seamless experience is what that matters here. On the factory workflows, the OT systems, manufacturing connected workforce, and new product introductions becomes easier through a system of ability to provide those information much earlier, ability to sense that information that something might go wrong, and bringing those workforce together to solve a problem. The supplier workflows is an external workflow that we are trying to relate with the supplier lifecycle management, right from onboarding a supplier, managing the risk and compliance of this supplier, whether it is regulated or in form managing those compliance requirements, which is for the specific industry itself. Supply chain is an inherent part of the overall supplier workflow, as most of this are third party related. workforce and workflows are important. The managing the workforce through these workflows are important because it improves the productivity of an employee, because the need of the hour is about bringing a hybrid workspace. Space is sacred. How do we ensure that that space is protected but work happens continually? That's where the employee workflows plays a very important role. IT and shared services improve the departmental efficiencies and reduce costs in service operations, security and risk management, global and supply business services. This use the shared resources that the companies invested into different departments, ensuring that all of them have the benefit of the investment that's made by the enterprise. Last but not the least, the foundation is about the most talked about themes that we hear today, ESG, which is environment, social, or the governance aspect of it. How do you bring that together in terms of the accountability of climate change that's happening, and how do you prevent and avoid and make the space better for us? Social responsibilities continue to be a very important contribution from the industry. And how do you measure and publish these contributions? And have a framework of governance in terms of providing these aspects in a much more informed manner. That's about last point I wanted to mention about is ERP optimization. Every organization has its own ERP, but loading on workflows on top of ERP is going to load the core SAP itself. Before I go to use case, I want to ensure that there is something like process mining that can go into those ERPs and bring the best out of how we can automate onto the ServiceNow platform and let the ERP do what it does the best. Now, moving on to the use cases, I want to reflect on some of the use cases. As you go into the customer workflow, transforming your customer workflow through optimizing order to cash process, order exception management, sample management, return to merchandise authorization. That's the first part of it. The second is enabling the after service support, and last but not the least, supporting the reseller channel. These three areas are just some of the examples of how some of the customers have been able to manage, as seen in this example. Integrated customer complaint resolution for this global electric manufacturer was deployed an integrated customer complaint workflow. When I mentioned about integrated customer complaint management, is about knowing which customer has bought this particular spare part by when and which batch contributed to this production. That's the kind of overall visibility and managing the reliability position and the quality and future samples that can be avoided in terms of going through the deep diving into the entire manufacturing workflow. The result is 25% improvement in time to resolution, 50% reduction in labor hours to execute, and 10% reduction in overall logistics cost. The next example that I wanted use case that I want to talk about is factory workflows. Transforming your factory workflows, managing and safeguarding OT assets. OT assets are managed through these firewalls of OT systems. Air gapping is the term that we use between the systems of IT and OT. How do you convert this and make a much more confident and transparent system that works? Maintaining visibility across all shop floor assets to control costs. When we talk about shop floor, it's not just the shop floor. It's about a location having multiple plants, the plants having multiple shop floors, the shop floors having certain equipments, and the equipments having assemblies, sub-assemblies, and subcomponents, and so on and so forth. And maybe the subcomponent is being outsourced to a third-party vendor. How do you manage this complexity when something goes down? You need to have an OT asset discovery and visibility, having a security and vulnerability posture of them, and manage the service requirements of each of these dimensions. What is going to make this possible is through a connected workplace. By bringing these things together and having a clear visibility drives this whole process. Speeding up new product introduction means that from ideation, from approvals to launching, and ensuring that the feedback is continuous in this process is a very important aspect of it. We've talked about QFDs, quality function deployment, going and talking about these all can be templates within the platform and ensure that those feedbacks are taken from the plant to the site on the field and back to the R&D itself. This is an example of, again, a global electric manufacturer building on a digital manufacturing of manufacturing 4.0. 70 plus initiatives are planned and implemented across plants. Every month, new business processes are getting automated. $24 million of annual savings and the real last mile guide to drive actions with work instructions. With AR, VR integrations capability, the possibility of work field services going in conducting as per the instructions directed by the AR and by the VR work instructions, people are able to optimize and be productive wherever and whenever possible. This is a case study about Heineken, where digitizing the shop floor for Heineken. As I said, knowing the shop floor, knowing the machines, knowing the assemblies, sub-assemblies component, this high cost and reductions and overall equipment effectiveness improvement within 1 year. That's the kind of MTTR reduction from 28 days to 6 days, and 144 is the number of breweries that's been rolled out to. Amazing collaboration from the customer and ServiceNow in making these possible that you can see as like a Uber experience, as you see on some of the examples here. Transforming your supplier workflows, optimizing supplier lifecycle management, new supplier qualifications, onboarding, and then managing the compliance of each one of them through performance and follow-up and real-time issue collaborations. For some of the automobile manufacturers, we've been able to connect between the OEM and the dealership on short shipments, defective parts, and ensuring that those frictions are reduced. Supplier risk management. During the pandemic, we thought with the supplier or not the supplier anymore. How do we ensure those risks are mitigated, seen ahead of time, manage a collaborative atmosphere between the supplier and OEM, and ensure that the overall effectiveness and compliance requirements are catered to. Streamlining supply chain operations. Operations management of supply chain brings in the ability to track and collaborate, corrective action planning, and escalations and incident planning. An automobile manufacturer, as I mentioned, material supply chain to continuously improve the efficiency, and this large manufacturer established a connected supply chain. There is a concept called disruption management, which provides early warnings, the ability to respond, and also providing a dashboard. These are three important dimensions when we look at about early escalation managements around the manufacturing supply chain itself. By having these kind of early warnings and alert systems and response systems, the company is able to manage 43% improve of data quality, 13% improvement of delivery performance, and 10% reduction overall logistics cost. Transform your workforce and workflows. I mentioned that speed up the workforce energy because these are new generations of employees joining. How do we ensure that the workforce onboarding, life cycle transitions, and improving the service delivery through service portal, that any request that the employee may ask for, and that's managed through this employee case management and relationship management. And a hybrid workforce is a reality. There is a choice too in this manufacturing today that not all employees need to be at office. Yes, core employees need to be in the factories, but rest of them can work from anywhere. This offers a potential to bring in new generations of talent and from anywhere and everywhere. And when things happen that should not be happening, like in this viral scenario of contact tracing and ensuring that the space is maintained and managed in a more hygienic manner, these applications play a very important role in managing, informing, and collaborating with rest of the systems, may it be healthcare systems or any other system that need to be responded to. We're engaging employee across the globe. The global CPG company, 70% of the cases were resolved in a tier 1 level, which means that we are trying to shift left. One point of entry for all employees worldwide, and not just one point of entry alone, but all the cases are listed against this employee so that employee's cases are responded in a much more progressive manner, and 13% increase in chat interactions, which means that interaction is to be personal through email, that phones, those are all converted into chat conversation, which pretty much a machine does. Machine continues to learn and provides opportunities for these employees to be much more productive. Last but not the least, and shared services is an important area where the investments gets rationalized. Modernizing and automating IT service operations to reducing the operation expense the company makes, right from project management to asset management to service management. How do we ensure that we continue to mine the processes and bring in the best out in terms of delivering order to cash, code to cash, and entire processes? Improving shared services performance through connected end-to-end process, right from start to finish, making it a zero touch. Whether it's procurement case management or legal request management, everything is manual and that requires automation, that requires audit trials, that requires transparency. Last but not least is building an effective IT security and risk management. Security operations and risk management plays a very important role. The concepts like common service data model contains all the data model, but revolutionizing itself into different workflows from IT to customer to employee, and for that matter, anything that is in the enterprise, in line with the risk and security posture of the company. This is again an example about Siemens using ServiceNow to move to a service integration management. We call it a SIAM framework. And that's how we've been able to transform 98% of automation of IT process. Employees, 300,000 employees who now access IT via my IT portal, and more than 600 resolver groups consolidated onto a single platform. As Dr. Matthias Haff, Program Director of Siemens AG says, we have transformed a highly frustrating and lengthy process into a fast, highly satisfying experience for our employees. These are some of the touch points that we could be proud of, connecting right from heavy industry to automotive, chemical and natural resources, and consumer goods. I hope you enjoyed this journey with me. Thank you very much and wish you all the very best.
That was brilliantly insightful, and that was so well put. Thank you so much, Mr. Venugopal, for giving us such an amazing picture about how manufacturing can be reimagined. And with all the offerings that ServiceNow has for the sector, it seems to be in great time ahead for us now. Now, before we start off for the most and the critical panel discussion of the day, which is the MD and CEO's outlook, we have our speakers at the back end preparing and gearing up for this. Before that, I'd like to take this small time out and show you the worlds of our partners here, and just a sneak peek into what they have for us and how they've been servicing the industry. So with that, please let me show you in small glimpses into our partners, industries, and their companies.
Today more than ever, manufacturers are faced with disruptive changes. For over 30 years, PTC has been helping reduce pressure to increase revenue, throughput, and productivity. reduce costs, and improve asset efficiency. Manufacturers are stepping up, investing in digital transformation initiatives that drive improvements in process, assets, and labor. But focusing on the wrong thing can get you stuck in the pilot phase, and failing to scale across locations means you won't get the desired business impact. Either approach can result in a stalled effort costing time and money. PTC helps you break through and transform your business. Using PTC solutions powered by ThingWorx, Kepware, and Vuforia, manufacturers create efficiencies across process, assets, and labor. The result? Maximize revenue, throughput, and productivity, lower costs, and improve asset efficiency. PTC, your answer for digital transformation. To learn more, visit ptc.com/smartmanufacturing.
Leaders transform their business, creating a resilient, customer-centric, sustainable supply chain. Cloud technologies transform industries. Successful enterprises connect to global business networks. And Design to Operate demonstrates intelligent technologies throughout the entire value stream. It shows how it all comes together to accelerate processes, drive innovation, and increase business value. Why not starting today? What is your transformation?
So I wrote an order entry system, and this lady, Phyllis, was putting the orders in. I said, okay, hit this, F12. She hit it, order came back, typed it in, bang. And she looked at me, she turned to me and she cried. And it was a very moving moment because I knew she was happy, and I'd never seen a woman cry because she was happy. And I thought, wow, this is really, really powerful. I started working on this company from a desk in my office in a house with a single laptop.
Fred had been thinking about this for a while. I think what he saw was that, let's say his banking application, it was very easy to use. And he really wanted to take that concept and put it into the enterprise world. Like, okay, let's make some software that's really easy to use, very intuitive.
The company was just an amazing place to be. I mean, it was just a small group of people completely focused on what we were doing, led by Fred, which was just remarkable. We weren't building this code in a vacuum. We were building it with the customers.
Knowing the experience in the room, these guys were the most legendary, brilliant guys of that company.
Fred he loved solving complex problems, but not just solving complex problems, solving them in the most simple way possible.
Working with the customer and figuring out how to make their life better. That is what ServiceNow is all about. That's what it was about in the beginning. That's what it's about today.
So if you've just joined the company, I think it's a company that was founded on hiring great people, taking care of the customer.
You just can't be too full of yourself. Come here, teach us what you know. We'll teach you what we know. Bring that quirkiness with you. Bring that uniqueness with you. Bring the crazy hair, the music that you love.
And we had this release go out. Then Fred got up and he stood on a couple of cases of beer. He started talking about what was in the release and thanking some people. And then he got kind of teary, like Fred would do. And then I looked around the room and other people were, getting emotional. And that's when I kind of realized that, these people are serious. And we're actually really trying to do something and do something good.
I will tell you, we have a legacy. My daughter works here. I can't even cry. Okay, I'll get there. You can cut all this stuff.
The original founders of the company, beginning with Fred, always had the customer as the first, second, and third priority. It's that passion. It's that differentiation around not only delivering on the promise, but continuously innovating. I believe that their cause will always endure.